Welcome to the Horse Talk Show. Have you ever seen a horse who could talk? With your host, Louisa Barton, who really wants to be a famous rider. She really loves to ride fast. Presented by Peterson and Smith Equine Hospital and Complete Care.
Truth is, I have horses with people problems.
Now here's the Brit on the bit, Louisa Barton. Enjoy the show.
Larson Farms is our TV broadcast sponsor. Mr. Richard Larson, a man of great integrity, cares about every single bale of hay and about taking care of his customers. He also has a huge heart for those genuinely in need. Larson Farms, Idaho's finest alfalfa. The Horse Talk Show broadcasts from the CEP's Equine Studios in downtown Ocala in the horse capital. The Horse Talk Show presented by Peterson Smith Equine Hospital and Complete Care. Thank you to Larson Farms. They're our television broadcast sponsor.
Idaho's finest alfalfa.
I'm Louisa Barton.
I'm Dancing Pete Rhoda.
And this is the first show of 2025. Can you believe that?
Whoop, whoop. We're changing it all around. We're going to talk about only dogs and sometimes horses. No, I'm just joking.
And we have a new camera, by the way, so if you notice anything different, you know, it's all new.
You can't see it, but you might see the pictures different. And if you're listening on the radio, you see the same.
Exactly. We have a great lineup for you for the first show of 2025. On the first half of the show, presented by Peterson Smith, we have Dr. Adam Cayot, who will be joining us. And then just to throw a little spanner in the wheel, as we say in England, Pete will be doing his horsemanship tip of the week following Dr. Cayot. Then we will have an episode with Tik Maynard, and Dr. Sue Dyson will be joining us to talk more of getting horses in harmony. And we also have Andrew Vanlangendonck. I love that name.
Don't say that twice too quick.
From Equine Performance and Innovative Center on the second half of the show. And we also have Mireille from MD-equine Therapy. So we have a wonderful lineup. And we're going to talk a little bit about rehabilitating injured horses the right way. And we've got lots of good stuff for you. News, events, and then of course Neil from Ocala Dog Ranch, tip of the week to wrap us up at the end of the show. So a lot to cover. But let's get started on some mentions before we kick off our first guest. So mentions and events that are upcoming. Customer Appreciation Day, we know about this one, right? January 18th.
TNT.
Yep, TT Distributors, January 18th.
8 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Do you remember when January 18th, 2025 was like, oh, that's a long way off?
Yes, I remember I said, why are you putting that up?
And now
it's around the corner.
That's right. And that is 7150 West Highway 40 in Ocala, 34482 in the horse capital of the world.
Door prizes, 10% off store-wide, raffles, food vendors, and product reps on site.
Yep, so if you've got questions about products, they will be there to answer those questions. So come in and be appreciated on January 18th. Did you see this?
I wanted to mention this. I was trying to call Betsy. Larson Hay, Idaho's finest alfalfa,
of course,
has wrapped their trailers and their trucks, and they look sharp.
Aren't they off the charts?
Oh gosh, if I was driving down the road, I'd probably wreck looking at it. Wow, they look like real tractors.
Oh no, no lawsuits, folks. This is gorgeous. Smash Wraps. Hats off to the team at Smash Wraps, to Shane Godwin and his team. Wow, wow, wow. The color, the everything is just beautiful. So look out for those Larson trucks and trailers around town, and go in and say hi to them. What a great job.
And mention that it looks really nice, because they've been parking it out front, and it just, to me, brings the place to another.
And if you're if you're on the radio, if you're listening on 97.3 or on one of the podcasts, go to the Horse Talk Show on Facebook and like us, and you will get to see what this looks like. It's brilliant. I love it. Come see Peterson Smith at HIT. Dr. Cayot is going to be there Tuesday through Sunday. All the way through HIT season, so till March 23rd. Dr. Cayot's on staff there for help if you are competing at horse shows in the sun. out there on Highway 27, you get to see Dr. Cayot.
Oh boy.
Yeah, super cool. Wellness for yourself is a good thing, especially if you're a horse owner. There's some very great specials going on at Nirvana Medical Spa. A smooth start to 2025. You can get 3 cool peels and get one free. You can get all kinds of other amazing therapeutic treatments for yourself to feel like a much better and brighter you. You can even buy one of those wonderful Glow 2 facials that I had a few months back, ready for another, and you can get dermaplaning, both of those for $265, a real steal. So get to Nirvana Medical Spa and start 2025 off right.
There you go.
This is a great time when people are looking for what can I do as kind of New Year's resolutions and new things I want to do in my home. It's a great time to plan a remodel. I'm actually thinking about it myself in my kitchen. And then you can rewire and upgrade all your systems for a safe modern home. And who do we call for that?
Pat Myers Electric. Because he's going to make sure it's safe.
That's right.
And it all works.
That's right. You don't want to do it unless you do it with the professionals that will keep you safe. Very true. I'm going to do some tips because guess what, folks?
It's going to get cold.
Pete's into the wearing 7 layers. He took like 5 off on his way in here today. So tips for the winter season: shelter. Ensure horses have access to windproof barns, run-in sheds, a covered area, or bring them in the stall to shield them from the wind, because when it's cold here, it's damp cold, and if there's a breeze as well, slightly windy, there's always that.
It makes it even more damp cold.
It does, exactly. Horses are accustomed in Florida to milder winters. They're more likely to need a blanket than perhaps horses that are used to extreme cold. So when we have these rapid temperature drops that go from sort of 80, 70 to sort of like 30-ish, it's a good thing to blanket those horses and make sure they're properly fitting, clean, and prevent discomfort rubs and things like that. If it does go up to 60, 70, 80 in the day, you also need to be able to take those blankets off. So that's very important as well.
Increase your bedding, such as straw or shavings in stalls, for insulation and warmth.
Yes, very important, because they need extra, especially if they're in a stall without a blanket on.
And here in Florida, turn your fans off.
That's right. Water access is really, really, really important. Horses are going to drink less water in cold weather, so adding a little warm water or soaked your feed like beet pulp can also encourage drinking. Do not let your horses run out of water during this time of year.
I was going to say, what I like to do during this cold snaps is I fill it up every other day, where I normally fill it up every 4 days.
Yes.
So that they have fresh, new water.
Yes, water is so important. A horse can get a dry bowel in 12 hours. You do not want that to happen, and you do not want to increase your hay and then they don't have access to enough water. Adding a salt lick is really important, which will encourage them to drink more. And
I learned this from a vet, was the best time to increase your hay is 2 days before a cold drop.
Yes.
Because they drink more, and that's when the heat comes from that hay.
Exactly. Dehydration, of course, does increase the risk of colic. It also increases the chance of an impaction, which is very serious. If a horse is without water for too long and eating hay, then they can get an impaction. And this time of year is when we tend to see that the most.
And I also like to bring in my hay early. So if I normally feed at 4 or 5, I'll feed hay at 3.
Yep.
That way they have plenty of time to get that water when it's warmer.
Now, we did mention hay problems, and you do want to increase hay, as Pete said, not doing that right in the cold spell, because that's when they're cutting back on their drinking. Horses do generate heat through digestion, so offering extra hay to keep them warm is important, but do that gradually. Don't go from giving no hay to putting a roll of coastal out in your field, and your horses are suddenly having hay that they are not used to having, and then also not drinking as much. That's a dangerous combination. So please bear all these things in mind as we are in the 30s, possibly feeling like the high 20s.
Yay!
We'll be back after this with Dr. Adam Cayot from Peterson Smith. Stay with us. This portion of the Horse Talk Show is brought to you by Peterson Smith Equine Hospital and Complete Care. Our television broadcast sponsor, Larson Hay, Idaho's finest alfalfa, and supporting sponsors DAC Minerals and Vitamins, Seminole Feed Stores, Piranha, Pat Myers Electric, Florida HVAC Services, and Ocala Dog Ranch. This show is brought to you in part by DAC Vitamins and Minerals of Florida. All horses need a solid immune system, excellent joint support, a healthy gut, and DAC has all the vitamins and minerals they need with the NASC stamp of approval. So like them on Facebook now or go to feeddac.com. DAC, it makes a world of difference. Nirvana, Ocala's premier medical spa, is leading the way in great skin with all the newest in treatment options, offering prejuvenation for younger clients and rejuvenation for all ages. Nirvana knows you want to look your very best, but we've all seen people with the telltale signs of too much work. We want you to look like you, just better, brighter and younger, with all the newest and best in technology and all in the most beautiful surroundings. Like Nirvana Medical Spa on Facebook and find them on the web at nirvanamedicalspa.com. Become a better, brighter and younger you. The team of professionals at Equifence of Florida specialize in equestrian fencing, offering great communication, quality fencing, and all done in a timely manner. Reliable service with horse safety in mind all the time. Also offering customized residential, vinyl, wood, aluminium, and chain link fences services. Equifence of Florida, quality fencing done right to keep your animals safe. For more information, find Equifence of Florida on Facebook now. The Horse Talk Show broadcasts from the CEP's Equine Studios in downtown Ocala in the horse capital.
Hi, this is Hall of Fame jockey Mike Smith. We're listening to the Horse Talk Show.
Back on the Horse Talk Show, presented by Peterson Smith Equine Hospital and Complete Care. Thank you to Larson Farms, our television broadcast sponsor.
Idaho's finest alfalfa.
I'm Louisa Barton.
I'm Dancing Pete Rhoda.
And here's Dr. Adam Cayot, talking about keeping older horses healthy. Louisa Barton here with Dr. Adam Cayot from Peterson Smith Equine Hospital and Complete Care. And we are going to talk about...
In a minute.
She's showing you her teeth. We're going to talk about taking care of your older horses. Dr. Cayot.
So, older horses, there's not a whole lot different than your younger horses. Obviously, exercise, keep them as, exercising as much as possible. Yearly checkup is good. Make sure their teeth are in good condition. Vaccines and all that stuff. But the thing that I typically come across in older horses is they tend to become much less efficient at converting calories to body mass. So what you feed them becomes very important. And luckily, the feed companies out there have recognized this for quite some time, and they've developed feeds that are much more easily digested. So the calories are much more easily accessed for the older horse, and they're typically your senior feeds, And so that's the main thing. When you notice your horse starting to lose weight, and that's typically what happens, then you need to start thinking about this change or modifying your feeding program for that particular horse. A lot of times they just don't lose weight just like that. It's a kind of a gradual decline, so it might take you a little while, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, he looks a little ribbier than what I noticed or whatever. And that's very typical, but it's not too late. And at that point, it's not a bad idea to call your veterinarian to have them check the horse out and make sure everything's good as far as that goes. But most of the time, it's just a simple fact of their inability to convert that calorie to body mass. So I typically then will suggest try a senior feed, try feeding them more often, have calories in front of them more times during the day, feed them a lunch and those sorts of things. And a lot of times, probably over 90% of the time, that helps. And so once you do that, then you have a routine and a maintenance program at that point, and then you can kind of judge by how they're doing, from day to day.
Yeah, and don't turn them out and forget about them. That's
Don't
I know
turn
I
them out and
see
forget
that
about
I
them.
see that a lot with older horses where people kind of just they don't realize the time flies by, and all of a sudden the horse isn't eating very well because it hasn't had its teeth done or
Right.
something like that.
Right.
So just
Right.
monitoring them closely. You can keep
Right.
them around for a while if you look after them.
I mean that, and as far as the teeth go too, because they'll lose teeth, right? So they don't have as many teeth in their head to be able to grind that feed to get to the nutrient part of the grain, and that's another big part of it. Or you'll notice them starting to quid the hay, where they ball it up and spit it out, and a lot of that's just because they're outliving the life of their teeth anymore, because our health care for the horses is so much better that they're literally outliving their tooth life. So in order to do that, we don't have any dentures yet for horses.
I know we've talked about that before.
So
Inventing those.
so you need to consider that. And I've had people where they'll start putting the grain in a blender and grinding it up and giving them slurries and those sorts of things and wetting the hay down and that sort of thing. So
Helping them out. Yeah.
those are all things that will help and give you a longer, happier life for the horse.
Absolutely, and a quick shout out for Seminole Feed. They have a wonderful chopped forage in a bag that's actually all chopped up already with some grains in it. It's great for horses that have metabolic issues, and it comes in a bag and it's chopped really tiny, the hay is, which is so good for older horses when they have less
That's
teeth.
another point, because a lot of those older horses do have the metabolic issues, whether it's Cushing's or insulin resistance or that sort of thing. So those are all things to consider. And obviously, arthritis and their legs start bothering them and everything else. So just be aware of that when they're, moving kind of slow through the paddock. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Wonderful. Dr. Adam Cayot with Peterson Smith Equine Hospital and Complete Care. Thank you, Dr. Cayot. Great information. And we are now going to switch it up. It is time for Dancing Pete Roder's Horsemanship Tip of the Week.
Dancing Pete's Tip of the Week, brought to you by Complementary Horsemanship.
This tip is sponsored by WildlifeWorksLLC.com for your unwanted wild critters removal. Today's tip of the week for January, the new year 2025, is commitment. So everybody makes a resolution, so I was like, okay, let's do one for horses.
That's good. I like that.
So commitment meaning I'm going to commit to trail loading my horse every week up until it's ready to go to the show. Instead of I'm going to commit the day before we go to the show to teach him to load. I'm going to commit to doing groundwork to prepare my horse better for riding. I'm going to commit to riding so many times before I go to something, or just I want to commit myself to do so much with my horse. But once you make that commitment, you got to say, put it on the books. That's my biggest problem with my horses. I don't put it in my calendar. I need to put it in my calendar and say, this is what I'm going to go do with my horses. And then when somebody calls, I'm like, sorry, I'm all booked up. Because they don't know it's me. So make a commitment. Make a commitment to yourself and make a commitment to your horse.
And then stick with it.
And stick with it.
It's just like those New Year's resolutions that everybody has about working out, reading.
Or last year, my time off. Yep.
How'd that go for you?
I did it for 2 weeks. I took 1 day off a week for 2 weeks, and then I think it went 3 months before I took another day off.
So don't do what Pete does.
That's right. Do what I say, not what I do.
Yeah, see, you should practice what you preach.
Yeah, exactly. Commitment.
So are you going to do better in 2025 with that?
I am.
How are you doing so far?
How am I doing so far? I was doing really well, and then it went haywire because I got to get my truck in to get fixed tomorrow.
So. Where are you going to take it?
Where? To my mechanic.
It's my mechanic.
No, it's my mechanic.
Who's your mechanic?
Wide Automotives.
That's my mechanic.
No, that's my mechanic.
Hi, Brian.
Yeah.
By the way, funny story about that.
Yes.
Both of us, he just looked at me, I just looked at him. We were talking about Kylie, who's producing the show this evening. We were just talking about Kylie's vehicle when she arrived and about her brakes making a funny noise. And what did Isaac say?
Isaac said, she asked, well, what does it sound like when my brakes are going bad? And Isaac said, "It sounds like you need to call Wide Automotives."
It was just like a commercial. It was so spot on. And then I said, oh no, actually you said, "I'll be there in the morning at Wide Automotive." And I said, "You will? Well, that's odd, because so will I." So both of our trucks are going to Wide Automotive in the morning. I hope they know we're both coming.
So do I.
So they'll be in there side by side. And it sounds like now we need to get Kylie's car in there too.
Yeah, now you get Kylie to come in.
Apparently we need to have a Horse Talk Show team arrival at Wide Automotive and take over the bay with our vehicles tomorrow. Isaac, is there something that you need doing to yours?
Yeah, the Horse Talk Show fleet needs to go to Wide Automotive.
I think if Isaac pulled in behind us tomorrow morning, it'd actually be a funny joke.
Oh, yeah.
Because it'd be like, hey, we're all here. So.
That's right.
So I have a commitment to take better care of my truck this year, which is why I'm taking it in, because it's due for some service things and I want to get them done because I want to take care of them before they're a problem. So I want to maintain my vehicle better. I want to spend more time with my horses. I want to spend more time with my family. I want to ride more this year. I want to get back into my really good exercise routine I had 2 to 3 times a week. It wasn't a huge big deal, but it was 45 minutes 3 times a week. I want to get back into that. I want to get back into my morning reading that I always did as soon as I got up. So I have a lot of resolutions.
And I hope the new one is you need to write before it's due so that you don't spend all night the night before writing it.
Got it.
Yes.
So yes, I write for a magazine and Pete's talking about my last minute style. It's not good. You're right. So there you go. We've all got commitments for 2025. Let's try and stick to them. Coming right back with the one and only Tik Maynard. Stay with us. This portion of the Horse Talk Show is brought to you by Peterson Smith Equine Hospital and Complete Care, our television broadcast sponsor, Larson Hay, Idaho's finest alfalfa, and supporting sponsors DAC Minerals and Vitamins, Seminole Feed Stores, Piranha, Pat Myers Electric, Florida HVAC Services, and Ocala Dog Ranch.
Faulty wiring is the leading cause of barn fires. I'm Pat with Pat Myers Electric. Equine facilities have special electrical needs. The knowledgeable and licensed team of electricians at Pat Myers Electric will ensure that you can achieve your vision for a beautiful, safe, and functional horse facility. From new construction to rewiring and updating, the Pat Myers Electric team is ready to jump in and help keep your horses safe. With a small farm of our own, we truly understand the unique concerns of the horse owner. Don't take chances. For all your current barn needs, go to patmyerselectric.com.
This show is brought to you in part by Seminole Feed Stores, family owned since 1934. Manufacturing fixed formula horse feeds with mindful monitoring and quality ingredients right here in Ocala in an all-natural, non-medicated feed mill. Seminole Feed, simply the world's best and safest feed. Like them on Facebook now or find them at seminolefeed.com.
Horses. Piranha! Oh no! Oh, the humanity! Oh, piranha.
Peterson and Smith Equine Hospital and Complete Care seeks to be a leading international veterinary practice that provides state-of-the-art veterinary care to their patients while fostering professional relationships with their clients that stand the test of time. For 24/7 and the best in equine care, check out Peterson and Smith at petersonsmith.com or like them on Facebook now for more information. The Horse Talk Show broadcasts from the CEP's Equine Studios in downtown Ocala in the horse capital.
Hey, this is Buck Branneman. You're listening to the Horse Talk Show.
Back on the Horse Talk Show, presented by Peterson Smith Equine Hospital and Complete Care. Thank you to Larson Farms, our television broadcast sponsor.
Idaho's finest alfalfa.
I'm Louisa Barton.
I'm Dancing Pete Rhoda.
And here's Tik Maynard. Louisa Barton here for the Horse Talk Show, the CEP's Equine Initiative, Equus TV Network and 97.3 The Sky. We are talking to the winner, world champion winner of colt starting.
The one,
Road
the only.
to the Horse, yes.
Tik Maynard.
Yes, Tik Maynard. And here with me also Dancing Pete Roeder from Complementary Horsemanship, and we're calling this Talk with Tik. And we're on day 3 of this colt starting undertaking that you won. So tell us about day 3.
So on day 3, they've got a slightly different format than the first 2 days. The competitors come out one at a time in reverse order of standing. So 4th place is first, and then 3rd, and then 2nd. And then since I was sitting in 1st place, I was last to go. And they have each competitor has 20 minutes in the round pen. And then there's an obstacle course set up as well as rail work that you're supposed to do. And you're allowed 35 minutes for that. So it's a total of 55 minutes. And the tough thing about it, the interesting thing about it, is we're not allowed to watch the previous people go. So we're sitting, while the first person is going, the other 3 of us are sitting in this little room, sort of backstage. And we're not allowed to have our phones with us. We're not allowed to communicate with the outside world. And we can't hear any of the talking that's going on in the main arena. All we can hear is every now and then applause. Yeah, applause. So your mind, it just starts to go crazy. I mean, we were like, there was a couple times where it felt like we were like horses in a stall that are weaving, or like a tiger like trapped in a cage, just like pacing the fence line. Like we were. It was tough. And at the beginning, when there were 3 of us in there, we were trying to kind of tell stories and hang out a little bit. But then it went to 2 of us, and then eventually I was the last one in there for an hour, and you're just like telling stories to yourself about everything that's happening, and then you're telling yourself like, shut up, and then you're telling yourself it's gonna be okay, and then you're thinking about this, and then you're like, and you're going through what you're gonna do with the horse, and you're going through what you're gonna say to the crowd, because you're mic'd up on the 3rd day. The first 2 days, it's mainly Matt and Dan that are talking, but on the 3rd day, the expectation is that each competitor will talk to the crowd for 55 minutes and explain a little bit about, what they're doing.
And you're getting judged on that also.
And you're getting judged on that,
Yeah.
like the way you interact with the audience is part of that score.
Wow.
And that was the most, I would say, emotionally exhausting part of the whole weekend, is those 3 hours. And I've never done like a martial art or a physical thing, or like MMA, or like being like a soldier going into battle, but I can only imagine like what people like that, when there's actually a physical aspect to it, is like what they would be going through while they're waiting for that moment to be called up, like the adrenaline that goes through your body in that situation, while you're sort of by yourself and your thoughts, and you're just waiting to step into this atmosphere of pressure that you've been preparing for months and months and months.
Wow, amazing. So tell us about...
And the horse is by itself now.
And the horse is by itself now.
So before it had 3 other horses to at least look, I've got a herd over here, but now it's just you and the horse.
Now it's just you and the horse. So
that's all about the connection then. It's you, just the 2 of you.
Yeah, and so I came out, all the competitors were now out, and all the other horses were now out. So it's just one round pen, and my horse is standing there, and I come out, and almost right away, it seems like they start counting me down from 10. They get to 1, I open the gate, and I walk in, and I had in my mind some of the stuff that I was going to talk about. So that came fairly easily to me, because I'd sort of practiced it, and there was some stuff I'd made clear in my mind beforehand, and I was able to really concentrate on that horse. And I think the homework I'd done up to that point with building connection, especially in those first 20 minutes, really paid off, because I was almost immediately able to walk up to him and halter him. I was almost immediately able to move him around smoothly without a brace. I was right on the timeline that I was looking for. I was able to saddle him and get on. He didn't buck when I got on him. He did buck a couple times when I first put the saddle on, but I tried to, again, just be patient, give him the time to figure it out. And then I went out and I did the rail work. Now for the rail work, in past years that I've watched, for anybody that's watched, a lot of times people will get sort of mixed up about what order to do it in. And so I made up an acronym in my mind for each sort of...
Of course you did.
Each sort of like stage, so that it would stay clear. So the first part I didn't have to because it was pretty easily. It was walk left, trot left, canter left. And then to the right, walk right, trot right, canter right. And it's funny, in the judges' meeting, it's written down as walk left, trot left, lope left instead of canter. And I asked in the judges' meeting, I said, I just got a quick question. Is it all right if my horse canters instead of lope?
Whoops.
And the judges, 4 out of 5 were in cowboy hats, kind of like look at me, and they wondered if I was serious, and then I got a little laugh. But I was like, most of the people are cowboys there, so
Yes.
I had to start talking about cinches instead of girths and
Yes.
loping.
Yes. We should have a little
cantering
translation on
and
the
a little
screen.
translation.
Canter versus lope.
Yeah, and sorrels instead of chestnuts, and fiddles instead of violins, and the whole deal.
That's right.
So anyway, so walk left, trot left, canter, and then same thing to the right. And then my next 3 things, it was SBT, which my acronym was Smile Big Time, but it actually stood for stand, back up, turn. You have to turn both directions. So I did that. And then the next thing was DPLM, don't pick lame music. And that stands for dismount, pick up all 4 feet, lead the horse, mount. Wow. And it doesn't seem like a lot of things. Like all you're doing is getting on and off, picking up the feet, leading the horse, and canter. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't seem like a lot, but you got to remember each thing because you get a mark for it, and you have to do it in order.
Right.
And so, I've seen in the past some people write it in their hand or they have to ask for help, but I made up this acronym in my mind, and it really helped me.
The intellectual horseman.
We go
That's
back
a compliment.
to the book.
Yes. That's a compliment.
Yes.
And then we started the obstacle course. The rail work went really smoothly. I was feeling really good about it. And then we started the obstacle course. And the first 3 I did, the 2 of us, my horse and I, did very well. And then we got to this tarp that you have to walk across. And that's when he started to get a little worried. I wouldn't say there was a fear involved yet. I'd say he was just feeling a little bit the pressure. And I gave it a certain amount of time. And then we went to the next thing. We did the next thing, which was going over some little jumps. And then we got to the next obstacle. I think there's 12 total. And the next obstacle was going through a car wash where the horse has to push through these pool noodles. And to a horse, that must just look like a solid wall in front of them. It's a very difficult thing for horses to figure that out. And again, I gave that a try, and then we bypassed that. And the next thing is swing a rope off them, and I was able to do that. And then the next thing was you're supposed to pick up a rope and drag something.
Right.
Now, I started off doing that, and then the horse, like a lot of horses, he got a little worried. And I think there was a moment there where it switched not just to worry, but to a little bit of fear. And he gave a little buck, and I dropped the rope. But I think at that moment, from that moment on, which I don't think I realized in the moment, it's only in hindsight, I had the combination both of the pressure and of the fear. Right. And I think that's where my horse was kind of like starting to feel like, okay, I'm getting to the end of my
quarter's about to run out.
Yeah, my quarter's about to run out. and I kind of attempted the next thing, which is the gate, and I was just like, it doesn't feel right, so I got off and I led him through the gate. And then there was one more thing, which was picking up these rings and putting them on another sort of hook. And we got, I picked up the rings, and he was still doing fine, and then I was seeing if I could get up to it to put the rings down. And he's still trying so hard for me. This horse is just trying so hard for me. I just love this horse so much. And
talking to Jake, he goes, just throw him on the peg.
So then I go to put them on the peg, and my horse, I think the fear of having that in front of him and having the accumulation of 2 or 3 things over the last couple of minutes, and he started to buck again. And this time he gave, as big a buck as the day before, but on the second buck I dropped the rings, and he was...
Hold that thought.
Yeah.
Because that's that suspense moment.
It is.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll
be right back.
Yes, talk with Tik. Louisa Barton for the Horse Talk Show. Larson Farms is our TV broadcast sponsor. Larson Farms, Idaho's finest alfalfa.
This hour of the Horse Talk Show is presented by Palm Chevrolet in Ocala, where the entire team is committed to making your experience in sales and service hassle-free and easier than ever with no games or gimmicks. Come in and visit on Southwest College Road or online at palmchevrolet.com. A second-to-none experience with all the amenities. Palm Chevy, find new roads.
LipChip is a company built by equestrians to make life at the barn a little easier. Equestrians, the future is here, and the future is LipChip.
This show is brought to you in part by DAC Vitamins and Minerals of Florida. DAC, it makes a world of difference. The Equine Performance and Innovative Centre, situated on 30 pristine acres in the horse capital of the world, is one of the finest and most complete conditioning and rehab centres for equines and canines in the nation, including an equine hyperbaric chamber, aqua pacer, water treadmill, cold water leg spa, equine swimming pool, Eurosizer, and more. Epic equine veterinarians specialising in rehab and conditioning. For more information, go to epcrehab.com or find them on social media.
Cut through the noise and distinguish your business with a custom vehicle wrap from Smash Wraps. Get noticed with eye-catching vehicle wraps that showcase your brand's identity and earn you more business. If you're looking for a custom-designed vinyl wrap for horse trailers, box trucks, cars, or pickup trucks, for a single fleet vehicle, or for 100, no job is too big for the Smash Wraps team. Make your appointment to set your business apart today. Find us on social media or at smashwraps.com. And remember, don't just wrap it, smash wrap it.
This show was brought to you in part by TT Distributors, dedicated to bringing their customers the largest selection of quality horse supplements, products, and farrier supplies in Florida at affordable prices. Also online at ttdistributors.com.
Welcome back to the Horse Talk Show. Have you ever heard of a horse that can talk? Listen to this. With your host, Louisa Barton. She's literally in love with every horse. Presented by Palm Chevrolet, your hometown Chevy experience. She's back in the saddle again. And now here's your host,
Pretty.
Louisa Barton. She's a Brit, she's got the gift of the gab, and her guests are fab.
The Horse Talk Show broadcasts from the CEP's Equine Studios in downtown Ocala in the horse capital.
Hi, this is Hall of Fame jockey Mike Smith. You're listening to the Horse Talk Show.
On the second half of the Horse Talk Show, presented by Palm Chevrolet, your hometown Chevy experience. Thank you to Larson Farms, our television broadcast sponsor.
Idaho's finest alfalfa.
I'm Louisa Barton.
I'm Dancing Pete Rhoda.
And we have episode 2 of a wonderful visit and a chance we had to chat to Dr. Sue Dyson, and she is going to share with us how to keep your horses in harmony. Louisa Barton here for the Horse Talk Show and the Equus Television Network, sitting with a new friend. We've been chatting a little bit with Dr. Sue Dyson about her background, which is extensive, and her successes, having incredible fortune working with some of the top equestrians and veterinarians in the world. Her veterinarian herself in the United Kingdom. Fortunately, visiting here in the horse capital and having this special opportunity to talk to her about what is fascinating research to me. Sue, we talked a little bit earlier about my troubled ponies as a little girl, and Sultan was my very first little dapple grey Welsh, and I think I might have had a couple of pet Shetlands before that, but serious riding off on the fox hunting at 6 or 7 years of age, dropped off in the morning at the pub and running behind the big horses all day, and then getting into show jumping, a little low-level eventing myself. I had a string of ponies. Magic is actually the one that comes to mind, a mare who was extremely difficult and very round. And I'm quite sure that my saddle that went on every other pony didn't fit her at all. And I am quite sure now, looking back, quite a few years, that I had no idea that I was probably hurting my horse, and I did not, of course, as a child, have any idea. And I don't even think many adults at that point even had the kind of research and knowledge that we have now. Just understanding those 24 behaviors that I find, very interesting, things that we can recognize with our horse, who, both as an equestrian and as a veterinarian yourself, I think it's much harder to be a veterinarian than it is to be a doctor, because we can go in and say, doctor, it hurts here, or it hurts here. But we don't have that with horses, so we have to be able to read much deeper.
Yeah, I think that's very true. I mean, I was guilty, as you, in terms of putting the same saddle on sequential ponies and then sequential horses, because I didn't know any better. Right. I do know better now, and I think I would be more successful with that knowledge.
Right.
I think that horse behavior has become normalized because we learned to ride at riding schools when a lot of the horses and ponies had low-grade lameness. And so they showed behavioral signs of discomfort, like they were known as grumpy horses, unwilling horses, lazy horses, uncooperative horses. I think that these are all terms that are inappropriate given what we know now, because I think most of those behaviours are induced by discomfort. And if you take away that discomfort, those behaviours disappear. And I was intensely frustrated in my job as a veterinarian that people were not recognising that their horses had problems until they had been present for many months, and sometimes even years. And so they didn't seek professional advice, so the horse would lurch from one problem to a secondary problem to a tertiary problem, which made it much more difficult to fix in the long term. And given my background, I was quite sure that if we could scientifically prove that many of these behaviours were related to discomfort and that they were not habitual, if we took away the pain, those behaviours would go away, then it would be a better way for people to be able to recognise earlier on that their horses had a problem. And I was fortunate enough to meet an equine veterinarian who's based in California, who's also board certified in animal behaviour. And so we worked together to develop what has now become called the Ridden Horse Pain Ethogram, or the Ridden Horse Performance Checklist, which comprises 24 behaviours, the majority of which are at least 10 times more likely to be seen in a lame horse versus a non-lame horse. And although each of the behaviours could be due to a number of different causes, if we look at the total score that a horse acquires out of 24, the total score can tell us whether it's likely that the horse is experiencing discomfort or not. So if a horse scores 8 or more of the 24 behaviours, it is very highly likely that it will have an underlying musculoskeletal problem. It doesn't tell us where the problem is, but it verifies the fact that those behaviours are the direct result of the horse being uncomfortable. So if we do nerve blocks to take away the lameness, for example, then the horses immediately move better, the quality of movement improves, they're no longer lame, and the behaviours diminish. So it may go from a score of, say, 11 out of 24 to 3 out of 24. So that proves to us that there's a causal relationship between these behaviours and pain, and the fact that these behaviours are not habitual, they are a direct response to pain. So we can use this tool in a number of different ways. We can use it to say, okay, my horse is only scoring 2 out of 24. It's a comfortable horse. Reassurance that your horse is okay. We can use it as a monitoring tool. So if the scores progressively increase, they've gone from 2 to 4, and now they're 6, that's a warning sign that something's probably not right, and I need to investigate to find out what's not right. And it may be something as simple as the saddle fit, or it may be something which is more complex, which is a lameness problem. We can use it when you're going to look at a horse with a view to purchase it, because it may look not overtly lame, but you just think,
there's some strange
there's
things.
something not
a
quite
weird
right.
head nod, or eyes closed for longer than they should be, or ears more prominently back, and things like that.
So, and if there are 8 or more of those, then that tells us we should walk away from that horse, because that horse is uncomfortable, and it's probably going to be quite difficult to manage unless it's got a very simple, straightforward thing that can be put right. But so many of them don't, because they're recognised too late. And then you can use it as a tool to say, well, I'm a rider, I'm sure there's something wrong with my horse. I've taken it to my veterinarian. He's watched it move in hand and on the lunge, and he says there's nothing wrong with it, it must be behavioural. I can now say, well, please see this horse ridden, because I'm absolutely sure there's a problem, and you may be able to see what that problem is when the horse is evaluated ridden. And I think veterinarians need to be more open about looking at horses
under saddle as well as
under other circumstances, because so many horses do look okay in hand and on the lunge, but do experience discomfort when they're ridden, because they're having to carry a rider, they're having to do more complicated manoeuvres, so it's not surprising that they may display discomfort under those circumstances. And then as a veterinarian, I can use it as a tool if I'm investigating a horse and I'm using nerve blocks to take away pain, and the score has gone from, say, 12 to 7, and I thought I'd abolished the lameness, 7 is still too high. It tells me there's probably something that I'm missing. I need to go back and look again and find out what I'm missing. Makes me more curious. I'm more likely to be able to do the best job for the horse at the end of the day, because it's no point identifying one problem, realizing what the cause is and treating that unless I'm treating all the problems. And I want to do the best for the horse rider combination. So I think it's a very powerful tool. Owners find it empowering. There's no doubt about that. And in terms of all the clinically related research work that I've been engaged with throughout my career, this I think is having the most global impact.
That's incredible.
Which is exciting, and I think will be good for equine welfare, hopefully.
I think so too. I think it's very appropriate, and I think, as you said, simple things like a lead change or lack of lead change can tell you so much. But if you don't see those things yourself, you don't see the horse under saddle having an issue with that. You don't see how the head is moving, bobbing, how the behavior is when the horse is being ridden compared to just on the ground. I would think it'd be very hard as a veterinarian to be able to really decipher the problem.
Yes, and I think enough equine veterinarians have not really recognised this, and I think there needs to be a movement within the equine veterinary profession to progress. That we've advanced with fancy diagnostic imaging, so CT and MRI and PET CT have certainly enhanced our diagnostic capabilities from an imaging perspective. But first of all, we've got to recognise it's a problem and know where the pain is coming from. And it's that recognition of the problem as early as possible that's so important, which is where the tool of looking at behaviour and looking at ridden horses, I believe, is so important.
I do too. And I'll say in closing this segment that my veterinarian said the greatest thing for him in his career that he's enjoyed is seeing sport horses go from not being able to compete and win to being able to compete and win after treatment. And I think that's a huge reward, because equine veterinarians are in it because they love horses, for sure. And to see that is such a great reward at the end of the day. Got to wrap this segment up. Louisa Barton for the Horse Talk Show and the Equus TV network. Thank you to the presenting sponsor of this portion of the show, Palm Chevrolet, and to our TV broadcast sponsor, Larson Hay. Also, thank you to the supporting sponsors, the Equine Performance and Innovative Center, TT Distributors, Equifence of Florida, the Florida Horse Park, Smash Wraps, Nirvana Medical Spa, Equigreen, JNS Pressure Washing, Horse Vans, and Midnight Rose Equestrian. The team of professionals at Equifence of Florida specialize in equestrian fencing. Equifence of Florida, quality fencing done right to keep your animals safe.
This show is brought to you in part by Seminole Feed Stores. Seminole Feed, simply the world's best and safest feed.
Oh, piranha.
My name is Dr. Natalie Solomon. I formulated Equigreen with cutting-edge science and technology alongside the passion that is represented by a lifelong love of horses. I created a product that I would trust for my horses because they deserve nothing but the best for their bodies. Horses rely on us to take care of them, to love them, to respect them. This is how Equigreen came to life. Equigreen, CBD for your horse that you can trust.
Does your farm need a facelift? Has the harsh Florida climate left your barns, stable doors, and fences stained? JNS Pressure Washing has a professional team who can exceed your expectations and restore your farm to its former glory. Get rid of dust and cobwebs that can cause allergies and health issues for horses, and keep your horses safe by limiting fire hazards in the barn. JNS Pressure Washing can clean your house, your barns, your fences, and your driveway, and you can count on dependable and professional services. For more information, call Stephen at 352-502-5355.
The Horse Talk Show broadcasts from the CEP's Equine Studios in downtown Ocala in the horse capital.
This is Charlotte Cannon, and you are listening to the Horse Talk Show.
Back on the Horse Talk Show, presented by Palm Chevrolet, your hometown Chevy experience. Thank you to Larson Farms, they're our television broadcast sponsor.
Idaho's finest alfalfa.
I'm Louisa Barton.
I'm Dancing Pete Rhoda.
And here's Andrew Vanlangendonck from Equine Performance Innovative Center, sharing with us some of the many therapies they have that actually help horses recover faster and better and get back to work quicker. Here he is. Louisa Barton here for the Horse Talk Show and the CEP's Equine Initiative, and we are talking to the GM at Equine Performance Innovative Center, Andrew Vanlangendonck, and we are going to talk a little bit about, we've talked already about your racing background, family background in breeding and sales prep and all of that. One of the things I really want to touch on, and in my opinion there's nowhere else that I know of in the world quite like Epic, quite like the Equine Performance Center, and I feel that all the different options that you have for treatment here, for rehab, for conditioning, especially for horses that have used to being in regular work, suddenly can't be in regular work because of an injury or an illness, and you're able to keep them moving forward here. And one of the things that's so detrimental to horses post-surgery or post-injury that are rehabbing is being still, because they're not used to it. Maybe they're cooped up in the stall because they can't be turned out. And there's so many options here to keep horses moving that maybe couldn't in a normal conventional situation. So from your racehorse background and experience there, talk a little bit about what you see as far as how well horses actually can heal here.
Well, first, thank you for having me. I appreciate you guys coming out and seeing our facility. The facility overall, as you say, is extremely rare. I don't believe that there is another place quite like us. There are plenty of places that have some of the therapies that we provide, but I don't believe there's any other place probably in the world that has all of them under one roof. We have a number of therapies for any kind of injury that we would have, whether it be for thoroughbreds or show jumpers, hunters, dressage, you name it, we can do it. So the main therapies we have would be like swimming, aquapacer, we have a uricizer, of course, hand walking, which anybody can do. We also have the cold saltwater spa, which is fairly unique to this area. We additionally have a vibration plate, MagnaWave, laser, basically all the good fun toys to be able to help an injury or rehab a injury, or just a pure conditioning with no injury, just after layoff, getting a good foundation of fitness in them before they go off to the trainers. So the main therapy that I would say is the best one to utilize while we're having a horse that needs to be laid up. Say a horse has bone bruising or something like that, and they want to give 60, 90 days off, let them have some healing going. So I would obviously be able to do the cold saltwater spa. That would be phenomenal to help them for that. But to answer your question on conditioning and keep them a level of fitness, that's something that I can offer trainers, that when you do give these 60 to 90 days off, that they lose a lot of fitness, if not all fitness. And not only do they lose some fitness, they also will lose bone density, which is going to have issues with structural damage maybe later on down the line when they want to go back into training. Because obviously if they're not training, they're not running, they're not winning races, they're not having an income. And as a thoroughbred industry as a whole, they are businesses. We love our equine companions the same as any other discipline out there with horses, but it is also a business that funds itself. So the aquapacer is phenomenal for that. You're not getting a bunch of extensive concussion, but it's going to be aggravating bone bruising or having any issues. It's going to provide resistance to the horse. So whenever they're actually doing the therapy, they're building up strength. I'm able to target different individual muscle groups depending on where we're at in the level of fitness. And once they get to a point that they have a level of fitness, if they kind of lost some, I go like to swimming. Things like bone bruising, there's nothing that's going to limit to swimming, so they can have their stall rest where they're not having excessive concussion on those bones. They can have that heat withdrawn from the inflammation from the bone bruising. They can keep their swimming going. That's going to have their cardio just go through the roof, because with swimming, and I learned this from Mark Cassie whenever he was teaching me on things, that you can keep a racehorse race fit just from swimming. Now, I cannot get a racehorse race fit just from swimming, but I can keep a racehorse race fit just from swimming. So that is just something I believe that we can provide to trainers out there and all over the world, but obviously the ones down in Florida will be easiest for them to send them up here, but can get them from Kentucky, New York, anywhere that they have major racing, and send them down here to whether they have their days off to be able to get back. But as soon as you get them back off of their layoff, they can go right back into training. with not even a missed hiccup because they already have that solid level of foundation. Now it would be the trainer's job to tighten them back down and get them back to where they absolutely need to be, but they wouldn't have to start fresh. So that is just something that we could absolutely do. Same kind of concept with some tendon issues. Depending on the tendon issue, wouldn't particularly maybe do directly to swimming, but the aquapacer is not going to cause any additional issues as long as you're doing it appropriately. And again, I can target different muscle groups to be able to keep that level of fitness going, as well as utilize the cold saltwater spa to be able to help improve or pull out inflammation of that tendon injury and keep pushing them forward. The MagnaWave, laser. So I'm able to not only keep them fit, I'm able to speed up the recovery of their injury and get them back on the track faster. And I mean, we also have this big machine here behind us that would absolutely cut months off of healing for any kind of injury that you have. Doesn't matter what it is. It's our equine hyperbaric oxygen chamber. There's approximately, don't quote me exactly on how many there are, but there's approximately 22 in the United States. I know for a fact there's only 2 in Florida, and there's absolutely only 1 in the horse capital here in Ocala, Florida. So that is one of the biggest diamonds in the rough that people quite don't really understand. So I've been pushing it out there. The more treatments that I do, the more visual that people are getting on it and seeing on how big of a tool it is. So if they do have an injury, you can put them in there whilst doing their rehab, whilst doing their layups, and that's going to absolutely speed up the recovery, and it's going to fix stuff in them that you don't even know is wrong with the horse.
Right.
So it's such an amazing tool, absolutely. Before it even becomes an issue, you'll never know that it's an issue because you put them in there for one thing, it doesn't discriminate. It's not like an antibiotic that only attacks one singular thing. It's not like an NSAID that only does these certain things. It does everything and attacks everything, and it helps correct it. So,
whole body, perhaps what you don't know about yet, might be stemming from perhaps something else that you do know about, and then overall healing and wellness.
Absolutely.
So it's incredible.
Yeah, when they come out of there, it's an hour and a half, or approximately an hour and a half, more so usually about an hour and 10 to 20 minutes that they're inside the chamber. When they come out, their blood oxygen level has been increased by 600%.
I'm going to get in.
Exactly. And it remains that way for 4 hours. And then, of course, after 4 hours, it doesn't just go right back to normal. It just slowly dissipates. So that extra oxygen means that those red blood cells don't have to go through the entire body and hit that respiratory system to pick up more oxygen. It's saturated in the plasma, so as those red blood cells are there depositing oxygen, it just goes and just fixes everything that you need to have fixed. So that doesn't even have to have an injury to be helpful. So it's a wonderful tool that really pushes. It takes months off of rehab and months off of the healing process. And it's, like I said, it doesn't attack the one thing; it attacks the whole body concept. So it's a really phenomenal tool.
It's amazing. It's incredible. And just to finish this segment up, I just want to say that something just to reiterate what you said. When a horse is injured, hurt, or has an illness, and has to be off work for some amount of time, you are back to square one normally. When you get the horse back home, you've got to start all over again. And everybody who's restarted, let's just talk about a racehorse. If you've restarted a racehorse that's been out of work for several months, you've got to start all over again. The beauty of being able to rehab here is that horse can actually be kept moving, and then your process when you get back to work again is going to be a lot shorter period of time. You're going to be able to get right back. And then the beauty of being able to just go on holiday and drop your horse off, can have some therapies, even if there isn't a problem.
Absolutely.
Can have some therapies and some work while you're off having a little holiday somewhere and relaxing. So a lot of different modalities and services here to get your horse back fit and even let your horse just come and have a vacation himself. So wonderful stuff. Thank you, Andrew.
You're welcome.
Louisa Barton for the Horse Talk Show and the CEP's Equine Initiative here at Epic in the horse capital of the world. Thank you to the presenting sponsor of this portion of the show, Palm Chevrolet, and to our TV broadcast sponsor, Larson Hay. Also, thank you to the supporting sponsors, the Equine Performance and Innovative Center, TT Distributors, Equifence of Florida, the Florida Horse Park, Smash Wraps, Nirvana Medical Spa, Equigreen, JNS Pressure Washing, Horse Vans, and Midnight Rose Equestrian. Ocala Dog Ranch offers a variety of services for your dog, including agility training, barn hunt training, board and train, boarding long and short term, daycare, day training, dock diving training and competitions, disc dog, swimming lessons and pool rentals, lure coursing and obedience training classes. Check out Ocala Dog Ranch at ocaladogranch.com. Ocala Dog Ranch is your home away from home for your dog and more.
This show was brought to you in part by TT Distributors, also online at ttdistributors.com.
Cut through the noise and distinguish your business with a custom vehicle wrap from Smash Wraps. And remember, don't just wrap it, smash wrap it.
Epic Equine Veterinarians specializing in rehab and conditioning.
This hour of the Horse Talk Show is presented by Palm Chevrolet in Ocala. Palm Chevy, find new roads.
Equigreen, CBD for your horse that you can trust.
Nirvana, Ocala's premier medical spa, is leading the way in great skin with all the newest in treatment options. Become a better, brighter, and younger you.
The Pat Myers Electric team is ready to jump in and help keep your horses safe. For all your current barn needs, go to patmyerselectric.com.
The Horse Talk Show broadcasts from the CEP's Equine Studios in downtown Ocala in the horse capital.
Hi, this is Hall of Fame jockey Mike Smith. You're listening to the Horse Talk Show.
Back on the Horse Talk Show presented by Palm Chevrolet, your hometown Chevy experience. Thank you to Larson Farms, our television broadcast sponsor.
Idaho's finest alfalfa.
We are switching things up to Mireille from MD-equine Therapy, but we are staying on the topic of wellness for 2025. Here she is. Louisa Barton here for the Horse Talk Show and the CEP's Equine Initiative, and I'm with Mireille from MD-equine Therapy, and we are going to talk about a couple of modalities. We are going to talk about clay, but Mireille will tell you the real name for that, and we're also going to talk about craniosacral. Mireille, tell us a little bit, which one would you like to start with?
Let's start here with our visitor, Dolly, with craniosacral therapy. So craniosacral therapy is a very light, hands-on body work, more energy work, which connects the cranium to the sacrum, hence craniosacral.
Makes sense.
Right. And it's often used on horses that endured stress, trauma, or an incident. Due to that, they can get interruption in the spinal cord fluid. So out of their skull, so out of their brain, their cranium here, you get the spinal fluid that runs through the spinal cord all the way to the sacrum. Same for us people and same for horses. You can actually feel that. You can actually feel it. It actually fills up and then it empties again. And it's about every 15 to 20 seconds that you have that cycle. So every 8 seconds you have a change. And if you put your hands on a horse, and if you're familiar with energy work and trained properly, you can actually feel their spinal cord fluid fill and empty. Wow. If you don't feel it, it means there's a blockage. And often we will see horses that are overly anxious, or they might be in stress. They might have a typical way of behavior, and it might also be associated with pain. And with craniosacral, we unblock those interferences, those blockages. So it's very, very light. It's really energy work, but you will see the horses lick and chew and yawn. And so it's a very holistic modality that basically makes the body whole again. So all the systems are whole. And she says, "Yeah, I'll have a session, please."
That's wonderful.
That's a very fast, quick explanation of it.
And more details on MD
Equine, md-equine.com, or if you want to make an appointment, you can also call or text 727-251-4197.
So we're going to switch it up and talk about clay. And you have a name for clay, you told me.
Yes, I have a name for clay. That's called Equithalasso.
I'm so glad you said
that.
So
Equi comes from equine, right? Equi's horse. And thalasso means sea. So the clay that
comes from the sea.
I use, Equithalasso clay, comes from the sea in Normandy, in France.
Wow.
Yes. And it was developed by a French osteopath, and she developed multiple clays.
You love a little bit of interaction with the horse. Hey, listen, people watch this show for the horses. Come on.
Yeah, so this is actually fun. This is a very interactive interview.
It is, I love it.
And so the sea and the clay in the sea in Normandy is known to have very high properties of sea salt, magnesium, calcium, algae, all kinds of healing nutrients. In France, we actually have Thalasso therapy centers for people.
Wonderful.
And we actually go there. Actually, our doctor will send us there if we're burned out or overworked or stressed out, and we get a week treatment in the Thalasso Center, Thalasso Therapy Center. And they basically use a lot of modalities, but the main one is the healing powers of the clay.
That's amazing.
And the clay can be put on a localized area, so it can be go on a leg. We have draining clay, we have healing clay for arthritic issues or sprains, other injuries. But one of my favorite ones is the full body clay that you can see in the video. And we basically put the whole entire body in the clay. With then it's covered with a seaweed plastic, and then it will get hot, and it will actually detoxify the body and draw out inflammation.
Draw it out. Then you take, when you remove it, it detoxes.
Yeah, we rinse them, and it's truly amazing. If you've never had an Equithalasso treatment for your horse, especially if you have a performance horse, you can do it pre-performance or post-performance as a recovery, or in between the shows, right? So if they show several days, it's a great way to recover and to have all that clay on your body.
I think I want to sign up for one of these.
Yeah, we're gonna.
I think
do
the week
clay.
sounds good. A week of that might work for me. Any last things you'd like to add to that?
No, thank you so much for having me and letting me educate about all the different modalities and therapeutic modalities we offer, and we have something for every horse. And horses are just like people, you know. You have to switch things up. Some weeks some days they feel different from other days. And
Dolly's friendly today.
Yeah, Dolly has a friendly day today. She's like, why am I not getting any therapies?
Why am I not getting any treatments? Yes.
That's yeah.
So for more information, Mireille has an incredible website with lots more information for you that you can learn more, MD-equine.com, and then her phone number,
727-251-4197, or call or text.
So reach out for a consultation. Last time, I'm just going to say, this is not to replace your veterinarian. This is just to complement what you already do with your veterinarian and help your horse feel better. So thank you so much for joining us for this very special series. Louisa Barton here for the CEP's Equine Initiative and the Horse Talk Show. Hey, if you own a horse, you probably own a dog. That's my theory anyway. Here's our favourite dog guy, Neil Henderson. The Horse Talk Show goes to the dogs at Ocala Dog Ranch.
Ocala Dog Ranch, this is Neil Hennessy. Great thing to do with your dog is daycare. Gets your dog out of the house, gets you able to do your chores without worrying about the dog, or maybe you're nipping down to Orlando or Tampa for the day and you don't want to worry about the dog having to go to the bathroom. Daycare is a great place. It's not for every dog, and you just can't turn up the day that you want to do it. You need to introduce your dog to the daycare group slowly so that they can all become buddies and they can play along with each other. Like I said, it's not for every dog, but you should check into it, especially if you work long hours or you just want to take a break from the dog. Neil Hennessy, the owner of Ocala Dog Ranch.
He's our favourite dog guy and our favourite British guy, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Neil Hennessy from Ocala Dog Ranch, recommending that if you know you're going to be out and about for multiple hours, you're concerned about your dogs being at home for a long time, not going out to the bathroom perhaps, maybe just need some activity during the day, when you're gone. And Jenna can speak to, Jenna Rivera just recently was out of town and took her dogs. I think that was the first time she'd ever taken them, and I think they had a great time.
That's right.
So highly recommended, and they have a wonderful time and they have fun there. And my dogs, I can't get there quick enough. They want to get out of the truck and charge over to Neil so they can have a good stay. So yes, hats off to Neil and Ocala Dog Ranch. And don't forget, of course, they do all the sports there as well. So if 2025 is a year that you might like to get your dog into jumping in pools and running courses and all sorts of other fun things, that's the place to do it. So thanks to Neil. We have got to wrap it up. Definitely the theme throughout this entire show has certainly been wellness, and I don't think that there is a better way to start 2025 than with all the wellness tips in the world. So we hope you have a great year, and we hope that this show kicks it off well for you. Whether you're in Ocala, Marion County, the horse capital of the world,
or not.
Happy horsing around till the same time next week.
See ya.